Good morning, everybody. This is IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We're here with Eric and Coach. Eric is out in the woods, so we'll see if his internet is able to hold up amongst the, I don't even know what kind of trees. You're not in Red Oak area.
We got evergreens. We got evergreens. I've got a tree over there that is absolutely gigantic. It made me think of our user member named Silent but Girthy. I wish I could pan the camera, but my internet sucks. So I was frustrated because I know we'll probably get some tough questions on recruiting. I'm not ducking any questions by any means.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to move a recruiting portion up front in case we lose Eric, because luckily we have Eric's articles, so he'll be here in spirit if he drops off when we talk team news. All right, so this is a good lead by Texas Beats here. I'm not panicking about recruiting. I'm not, but I have some questions. So I think this is exactly who we want to talk to here. All right.
I wish I could hear him say it though. I want to hear it in his voice that he's not panicking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By their tonation. But let's talk recruiting, right? And this is the best. Hey, in the Sark era, this is traditionally not our strong suit, right? This little window of time. It's more kids commit elsewhere, and then we get our get back in December. But first things first, Eric, just let everybody know kind of what's going on, because we have had a string of several guys going other places this past couple weeks.
Well, Occam's razor is that the way that they were stacked up commitment wise was unfortunate for Texas. A lot of those are just are very battles at best. Malachi Lee was going to be tough to pull from Michigan. Michigan had been recruiting him harder, longer. Xavier Crowell trying to pull that. I mean, if you watched that commitment video, I got through about 10 minutes. I just couldn't do it anymore. But that guy was going to Alabama, and then Alabama got Xavier Griffin. That's they kind of had the lead there too. So it's just unfortunate the way it's stacked up. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I know everybody already I forgot about Richard Wesley just a little over a week ago. Yep. That's a major pull. All that matters is how they sign, not how they commit. And finishing second place a number of times throughout Sark's time has worked out long term. Anthony Hill, A&M first, Colton Vasek, OU. They've had a number of flips. So it's as long as you're finishing second, I feel okay about it. If they would have been third for all these guys, then you'd be like, all right, you need to write them off.
Yeah, Banks was fun this time in the summer. Who would have thought a year ago we'd lose out on the top 3 in-state running backs?
Well, who would have thought a year ago Tashard Choice would be coaching in Detroit?
That part.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be the switch. And I think too, remember Chris Jackson's first period? It was a little bit shaky, and then he comes back, right? Give them a full year under their feet, develop relationships. Then we can start talking about new coaches recruiting. But just having to walk into a situation is not perfect. Give them a little time to set up there, because their relationships they have to have established. And we're still going to make a run at Derek Cooper, correct?
Oh yeah. These recruitments aren't over. I kind of just chuckle. I log off too, but yeah. Anybody worrying right now is just not paying attention. It's getting old having to play therapist for these people. I've been talking them through all these recruiting classes step by step, and it always works out. Even last year for defensive tackles, the day that they lost Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma, they lost them on the same day, June 28th. Next couple of days, I was telling people, calm down, man. They've got a plan. It's just going to be a much busier fall. Right now, we're not even to that point of really worrying. If they miss on John Turntine or Felix Ojo or Jamarian Carlton, or some of these other guys that we have penciled in the class, then you have to kind of wonder what's going on, investigate a little bit harder. Right now, it was a little bit of a tough stretch. It would have been nice to shock the world and pull one of those guys off. It didn't happen, but there's a long way to go in the cycle. There's not a long way to go before decisions, but there's a long way to go in the cycle.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything here. I'm just trying to think strategic. Is there any, and just you can shoot it down, is there any that Texas plays, say it's an NIL recruitment? Does Texas shoot their shot here, or do they kind of let that commit and then they wait until the budgets make sense in December? Is there any money kind of strategy at play here, or just pure?
I'll tell you, what happened last cycle was, some guys got some upfront payments, and then, said, this wasn't the right place for me. I might as well go to Texas where I really want to be. That's what happened last year. I'm still trying to get every cycle's a little bit different. The economics change with the new rules. I do think that bags are back to some degree, which Texas is not going to do. So that's something you have to overcome. But if all things are equal, that people don't care how they get the money. If it's on the up and up, they would prefer that. Most people, I learned that during NIL. Most people would prefer to have a structured NIL deal, even if it comes with obligations like charity work and stuff like that. They would prefer that. But if bags are back, they're going to have to figure out a way to overcome that, and that's going to be through corporate NIL.
So bags in the sense of sketchy NIL deals, are bags like under the table type bags?
Yeah, well, I don't know how it's happening. Probably bags. I mean, you've got a lot of donors that aren't being asked to donate right now, and a lot of them have muscle memory of how the old ways were.
Yeah. I can imagine SMU people are lined up, ready to go.
Like, what? You're not hitting us up for NIL now? Well, okay, we'll figure things out on our own.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but we're just there's definitely some whispers out there of what's going on in the new world, but certainly no reason to panic yet. We've talked. I don't know why people are even focusing on running back so much. Yes, it'd be awesome to get Derek Cooper, but look how many bodies are in that room. I wrote a very long article yesterday for Thinking Texas Football, Paul Wadlington's annual ebook, which everybody should buy. And I started thinking, man, we're not talking about James Simon enough, running back James Simon. Like, we were hearing really good things, running inside like Jerry Gibson, outside like Christian Clark, not to the full degree of each of those guys, but, the running back room is in really good shape. So I would be perfectly happy with this Ashton Roden kid out of New Boston. I think that kid's a baller. But they're either going to go on the more affordable side, guys that are willing to play the long game and develop, or they're going to go for NIL. So that means that the big board has not really changed in the last week. Xavier Griffin is not off their big board. Maybe Crowell is, just because, they see how insurmountable that's going to be. But, Malachi Lee, they'll stay on that kid. They're going to keep plugging away. And they were making up good ground on some of these guys, which reminds me of the Anthony Hill recruitment. Anthony Hill was penciled in that A&M class forever. And I think he kind of just committed there because he had stronger relationships. That staff had been recruiting him since he was a freshman, maybe even an eighth grader. But Texas was making up ground. When he picked A&M, I said everybody needs to sit tight. Texas is coming on strong in this one. And 2 months later, maybe not even 2 months, they got the flip. So they're making up good ground. These recruitments are trending well outside of the actual commitment, which sounds like it's crazy to say, but they're still in a really good place, and they should go on a run here in the next couple of days.
Okay, hell of a segue there, dude.
Okay,
let's walk through these upcoming events. All right, here we go. So these are the ones that are coming up.
That's Florida or LSU for Henderson, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we have July 2nd. We're going to have Henderson the edge, and it's looking like Florida. And then we also have defensive tackle Kendall Gervil. So
there's word that LSU's pushing on Henderson, but here's the problem: my Florida guy isn't asking me where Trenton Henderson's going, so that means that Texas probably. And once they got Richard Wesley, I kind of crossed Henderson off the list. Like, I don't know how they could pull off Richard Wesley and Trenton Henderson in the same class. That just seems like a tough lift. The next two look a lot better for Texas. Kendall Gervil, we expect him to be in the class at this point. It's still the NIL era. You have to watch everything. Coaches usually aren't even confident until a kid actually does commit. So we still have to watch that. But you feel good about Gervil and Oak Paula, and then things will start to get a little bit better going into the fourth, hopefully.
Yeah, Coach, talk to us about
I'll be live. I'll be there for that one, the turn time one, man. I'm gonna get some good barbecue. And hopefully, we got orange smoke. I can't wait. 12:30 p.m., man.
Yeah, Texas needs to pull that one off because it just set up so well for the school. And he's just like, that's a Texas type of kid. I feel like he would go to UT if he didn't play football, he would still want to go to UT. So pull that one off. Finley, not happening. Notre Dame. That's probably another kid they'll stay on, but there's just some. That's just tough. That's going to be a difficult recruitment to get back into, I think. Bryce Perry Wright. We've never really gotten a great read on that kid in Texas. I mean, I know there's been mutual interest, obviously, but I think that seems like Clemson to me. But once you get Richard Wesley, you have to figure out what are the downhill effects of that.
Yeah.
And one of them was, I feel it's a lot less likely that Bryce Perry Wright will end up in the class.
Yeah. And then we're looking at linebacker Calvin Thomas. He's the one that's like 6'3", right? The big old linebacker.
Yeah, he got the long frame, athletic kid. I still feel really good about Calvin Tillman's decision on July 12th, man. Look, buzz around him coming off his official visit was really good. So, I mean, I know he got his commitment date on the 12th, but that's a couple of days. I guess other teams try to make a move at the last second, especially SMU, but we'll see how that one ends up.
Yeah, based on the visits, you would feel good about Texas. NIL era, you never know. And Texas has to keep pushing too. Texas was a little hot and cold on them, it seemed like. It took them a long time just to set up his OV. So you wonder what's in play there. You always, there's always a hidden story behind all these recruitments. The fact pattern there tells us something was off in the fact that they had his OV so late. So, we'll see if they continue to push. Oak Poly feel great on. We know that they're going big game hunting. They're still going to stay on Xavier Griffin. Braden Rouse is probably going to pick Tennessee. Hopefully they're dialing up the heat on him. That's the linebacker I really want in the class. But it's all going to work out. They're going to end up. It's going to be a little bit different class. Like you're going to see, you might not see the highly rated skill players outside of Dia Bell. Probably going to take Kiawe Brown at tight end. If they don't get Caden Finley, it might be another 3-star higher upside wide receiver. But they're going to crush the lines. At least that's the feeling right now. Get Felix Ojo, Turntine, Gervell. You're going to have 40 tackles that are great. And you're going to have 3 offensive tackles that have really high upside too. So,
and a hell of an edge.
Yes. Yeah, and a hell of an edge, and maybe another hell of an edge. Jake Cruel announces around October 9th. That'll be after Texas plays Florida in the backyard. We want Trenton Henderson to go to Florida because that would give them Jarayla McCoy and Trenton Henderson. I'm not sure how they're pulling that off if they can do it. And then, I'm not sure that they would Jake Cruel want to join that class? I don't know. So that would help Texas out.
Makes sense.
Quick things from the chat. After last year, wide receiver hall seems like they can afford to load up on the trenches this year. Yeah, it's cycle dependent, right? You're not seeing a ton of 5-star receivers because we just took a couple 5-star receivers. So if you have a big year in one thing, expect responsible recruiting in the next year and then vice versa type of thing.
Yeah, the roster is going to tell you the direction. They need offensive tackles bad. They've got way too many interior guys compared to tackles. So that's, they're going to get 3 tackles. They were even trying for 4 offensive tackles. Maybe they end up with 4 offensive tackles. I don't know. And then D tackle there, finally putting all concerns there, definitively putting all concerns about D tackle to rest. With the portal guys, the class last year, this class, Alex January, Melvin Hill might play a role down the road. So they're addressing the most major needs. And then, hopefully they can get Samari Matthews too.
I was going to say, so Samari Matthews, we were worried about maybe Clemson early on. Now it seems like South Carolina is really in the mix. So kind of where are we at with the corner?
Look, they made a great impression. Having the last OV sometimes means something. Schools will go all out. Me personally, I still feel really good about Texas. I feel like the relationships are there. I feel like the kid wanted to be at Texas despite all things outside of, the OVs and all that stuff. So I feel like it's a great fit, man. This is a true lockdown corner. When he first mentioned Keenan getting hired, he's like, yo, DBU, the dude who started it, is back. You know what I'm saying? Texas develops and puts guys in the NFL. That's essentially where I want to be. And so I feel like Texas wins out in this recruitment. That's just me personally, just getting to know him and his dad and the whole recruitment. I feel like Texas will be home for us, Matthews.
Yeah, I think it's moderated back towards Texas a little bit. It was definitely made a move on that visit. Had us watching it pretty closely. That's a recruitment that reminds you that relationships still matter in the NIL era, because like Charlie's saying, it just feels like Texas has a really, really strong relationship. Mark Orphy's done a tremendous job on that. Kind of reminds me of how Chris Jackson did with Wingo and Jamie French. Samari Matthews kind of seems like he's that version for Mark Orphy.
And then this is a good way to as a way to talk about Atkinson. Now that we didn't get Griffin, definitely think that impacts Atkinson's path potentially to Texas more. And then do we turn the heat up more on Rouse? Eric likes him, but doesn't look like we will turn up the heat. But if we get him, but really, I want to ask about how does this affect Atkinson with Griffin going to Bama?
Man, I just that one. There's a thinking. I think I've shared it on here before. There's a thinking that prices are going to go down with the disappearance of the NIL collectives. Guys aren't going to be making as much, so if that's the case, Atkinson's probably going to want to take his best offer this summer. Now, if he waits, that price might come down. He's going to lose some leverage. The schools can only give so much rev share to a player. And then they've got to figure out the corporate NIL side. How are they going to even do that? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I think he should probably decide soon and take the best offer that's on the table. I don't know if that will be Texas, though. It could be Georgia. We're watching it. We're definitely watching it and paying attention to it. If Texas truly felt like they had to have him, like this was Justice Terry last year, I'd probably have an RPM in for him. I just don't know that they feel like they have to go to those lengths at this point.
Well, this is a good question. Are schools increasing their offers, jacking up the market to slide guys in before the House settlement applies?
The House settlement rules that we're waiting on the next day or two, that's actually about the rev share going to the players. The rules that affect recruiting are already in place. Deals have to be submitted to the committee. They have to go through a thing called NIL Go that DeLotte is going over, parsing over, making sure that it's a true NIL deal. Contracts have to be submitted. So the ramifications on the recruiting side are already happening.
Have you heard of any getting rejected yet?
Not on the Texas side. I know they've been running. They've been running deals through already. I haven't heard of any being rejected. That doesn't mean they haven't been. Hey, if they're not getting rejected, you're not trying. They better have some getting. It's like when my kid brags about not falling. I said, "Why didn't you fall, man? You're not going hard enough." You got to get rejected a time or two so you know where the lines are.
Sure. All right, guys. Before we keep going, let's hear a word from Academy Sports and Outdoors, y'all. All right. In honor of your service and support for our country, Academy Sports and Outdoors is offering military and first responders 10% off your purchase, both in your local Academy Sports and Outdoors store and online, all the way up through July 4th. So this Friday, guys. Exclusions do apply. Visit academy.com/discount for details.
Hey, thank you to Texas Beats for that super chat. I appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully that answered the question.
All right. Let's talk. I want to talk OT7 a little bit of 2027.
Yeah.
We don't have to go in depth on 2027. I just kind of want to hype this class because this seems like it's going to be a sick year for 2027.
Definitely.
So get the fans excited for next year. All right. So we had OT7 and State 7 on 7.
Mm-hmm.
If you were on Twitter this weekend, you saw clips of Jermaine Bishop just smooth as butter, just crossing dudes up. It looked like basketball. And then I can't remember which reporter. I would give you credit. I'm sorry, but he said other coaches were like, basically like that's a player. Like whenever they were watching him. So Bishop at the wide receiver spot, he's listed kind of as an athlete, but he was turning heads early. So kind of what's the word on Bishop, the 6-star?
Yeah, you said he was absolutely dominated the UIL 707 state tournament, man, at receiver and DB, going against some of the better teams out there, but letting them know about it too. Man, he was trash talking the entire time. Only thing he didn't have on was his cape and Batman, mask, but man, he was still out there just locking down dudes. DeSoto, South Oak Cliff, like he's going against some of the top competition, but letting them know about it. Maybe from Willis, but I am the best player on this field. And you see him running by guys, out and jumping guys, whatever it was, man. Jermaine Bishop is an absolute 6-star all the way, on and off the field.
Yeah, I'll never forget that Texas source telling me, because I was like, hey, man, I think Jalen Lott's a 5-star. And he's like, I think Jermaine Bishop is a 6-star. I was like, I think Lott's a 7-star. Before the Travis Hunter comparisons got way out of hand, especially anything that happened after this season, you probably shouldn't go that route. But I had a guy in the Houston football community that was kind of saying he's Travis Hunter before Travis Hunter had this year. So back when it was a little bit more possible. But that's the type of athlete he is. And he's all about football. Great mental eval, high football character. So if anybody can play both ways, it's going to be somebody that's wired like him.
But wide receiver is going to be his main position, right?
That's where he's going to start. Now, here's the thing. He's going to have one practice like he did at the 7-on-7, and Sark's going to grin, and that kid might never touch defense again.
That's what I was going to say. The coaches are going to have to play a little games with each other.
Yeah, start getting first crack at him. Chris Jackson and them are going to smile across the field at each other, and it's going to be over for the defense.
He kind of has the Travis Hunter movement style too. Like when I saw him breaking down, he has that kind of just smooth. It's looks kind of like a mummy.
Yeah, and he's lean as hell. He's a tightly wound kid. Just moves incredible in every direction. That's. We're sleeping on that one. It ticks me off because the networks didn't have the same evaluation. I think now 24/7 has him as a 5-star. I sent him up the ladder to On3, And I basically sent the Texas eval to them, and then I don't know where they have them now, but it's still nowhere. It's not 6-star. They didn't invent a 6-star class for them yet.
They need it.
We talked about Samari already.
Yeah,
but
absolutely locking dudes down, man. Look, that's his setting. I mean, you put him on the island versus the best, it does not matter. He's going to lock down everybody. I think they had some reporters talking about him like, there's no route he can't cover, man. Like, this kid is tremendously smart and cerebral, man. He has the smarts and he has the athletic ability to match it. I mean, there's nothing he can't do on the field, no matter where you put him.
Got to get him. Got to lock him up. Him and Cade Phillips in back-to-back classes, and then all the raving reviews we've heard about Grayson Littleton. I mean, geez, dude, the future is bright.
It's gonna be cool. And then Diabell, who I'm just like get more and more excited about by the week, man. I need to watch Jared Curtis because anytime I haven't watched him enough because I'm like every time I watch Diabell, I'm like, how is this not the number one quarterback in the country? But he also, and what do I like about Diabell? And someone mentioned this, I can't remember what show, but with Arch, we got a very buttoned up recruitment. He wasn't at the camps. He wasn't doing all the flashy stuff. It's been fun with Dia to watch him compete at all the big camps. So what's the word on Dia?
Hey, man, look, Dia was out there at OT7 just, man, threading the needle. He's putting some balls. I don't know if you can even play the video on this, but he's putting balls in spots that most people cannot do, right? It's just perfect. I mean, it's Diabell. Like, he's the next for a reason, right? I know you got KJ Lace and all that, but I mean, people like Diabell's that guy. He's confident in his throws. He can put it anywhere, anytime, man.
Ooh. Yeah,
coverage doesn't matter. Receivers are open.
Diabell is telling us what Arch Manning would have done on the camp scene if Arch would have given a damn about it. Very similar. And then, why is Dia better than Jared Curtis? Because he's dominating these things and he's not even using his full capabilities. He's got the legs too. He could take off and run when he needs to. He's a functional dual threat athlete with a pocket passer mind and skill set.
D is number one by a lot of recruiting other services. Okay. Yeah, because when I watch D, I'm just like, all right, if there's a better quarterback here, then
show me.
Right. Yeah, show me.
Show me, please.
All right. One of the younger stars of the weekend, Cooper Witten, son of Jason Witten. And he's this is 2027, by the way.
He's a 27 kid. He plays in TAP, so a private school, but they competed with the UIL team, so he want to get some of the better teams. You can see his dad trash talking the South Oak Clips coach was like, "We're about to dominate y'all. My son's about to come out here and put a hurting on you guys." And so, but no, Witten had an absolute phenomenal weekend too, playing safety, linebacker, and receiver. Man, he was running by guys. He's faster than his dad, I can tell you that. I don't know where he got his genes from, but he's way faster than his dad ever was.
Yeah, that was the first thing that jumped out to me. When I saw him playing linebacker, I'm like, oh, God, a Witten playing linebacker? Because I remember how his dad lumbered.
Yeah.
He can move, man. He's like one of them Clemson dudes when you see him moving out there. Like, he's a good line. I was wondering if it was a little bit too much hype until I watched the tape. I'm like, well, man, I'd love for that kid to be in the class.
And then for the people that freak out on recruiting, this will be somebody you guys can freak out about next year. John Meredith, top corner in 2027.
Yeah, look, he got the cover skills, but man, posting a 4.3 240 like with that size, and he can move. He has hips too, so it's not just like straight line speed. He can turn and run. He can stop. He can cover. He can do everything, man. You ask him to do. He fits the profile what Texas is recruiting, a long athletic corner too. You put him on the island and say, good luck. There's nothing you can do against this kid. But yeah, another tremendous kid coming up in the 27 cycle, man. I call him must get. Like, he's the top guy for a reason.
Does he have a lean? Go ahead,
Coach. What's his early feel on recruiting? Who does he like so far?
I think he's a natural guy. He didn't have a favorite when I went out to Euless and saw him, but of course he's built a relationship with Coach Orfe. I think that's important. I don't see him going far from home, even though a lot of other schools outside the Texas are recruiting him heavy, like the Penn States, Ohio States. He's going to be a guy I think may stay home, but Texas is the only in-state school that's recruiting him hard so far, honestly, versus the others. So that's a good sign.
That's weird.
I was going to say that. That's super.
Everybody else was late to the party. He named Texas, and everybody else was out of state.
Yeah, normally, Tech would have offered him in 7th grade, and then would be all over him early. They get that early bump with kids because they're showing them more love than Texas does, because Texas tends to focus on the current class. So that's a good sign when Texas gets an early start like that. That usually is good foreshadowing.
There's some players in 2027.
Oh yeah,
it's we don't have any more on the list, but let's talk. So we have who's the DT out of 2027?
Jalen Brewster out of Cedar
Okay.
Hill.
Yeah, Cedar Hill. I mean, there's some like the state of Texas is also producing like the 2027 class should be fun. So
yeah, that'll be more fun for us to cover because it's it's all a drive. We're going to know these kids better than we know some of these Florida, Georgia, all these kids in the Southeast. They're still going to offer all those across the country, but there will be more of an emphasis in state next year, kind of like there was. Last year had a number of high profile in state recruitments.
Yeah, so looking forward to 2027.
Yeah.
Okay, so for recruiting, yeah, we haven't been on a winning streak historically. Summer's not really where we do our winning. We'll have to see where things are once it gets tighter down the stretch. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, shades of 2022 and 2025. If you remember those cycles, you know that just stay patient.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure they're going to listen to you, Eric.
Oh, yeah. Right now, they just collectively blew a sigh of relief altogether.
Yeah. It's Twitter's been fun just watching people. Or like, whenever we're real clear that like this guy's probably not going here and like very clear, and then they're still like, man, we blew it. It's like, guys, we've been warning you for a week, but they act like still we were like number one in that recruitment. But I get it, man. Years ago when I was following recruitment, and also it's a little bit fun, man, to just get some excitement to your day, right? Gives you some highs and lows at the office job to get really invested, even with a loss coming ahead. Okay, so Eric did a cool piece on transfer impactful guys. So we want to kind of go down through that list, but it's also just a good way for everyone to get updated on the portal guys without spring ball. I know it's hard to find pictures of them in Texas uniforms for thumbnails. I can tell you that. So it's also hard to know what's going on without spring. So let's talk about the portal guys and their additions and what that means. So most impactful, Jack Indries. Eric.
I rank these by most impactful, and this is not normally I write a whole lot, more. I'll give more color. I wrote this in about 5 minutes to give them something to take their mind off of recruiting. So, Jack Indries, if based on the impact I expect, I think he's going to have 50 catches and go on to the NFL. He's made a really seamless transition so far, doing really good in 7-on-7, not just making plays on the field, but also showing leadership. And it's clear that Arch is trying to find him in 7-on-7 and try to expedite that relationship on the field.
Love that.
I'm expecting big things out of him.
Man, it's going to matter too, like to have that security blanket. We'll talk Mosley here too, but I keep harping that having those guys are going to be important for Arch. And the fans are going to fall in love with them because when they convert those crucial third downs, that's how
and we also know that Sark loves to scheme that position wide ass open. So and Andrews has more wheels than Helm. So I think we're going to see I think we're going to see some big plays out of him too. That maybe he didn't create the room. Maybe Sark schemed it for him, but he's going to take advantage of it.
And that, like I said, that unheard of 90% plus catch rate. That's an incredible stat that he had.
Yeah, you just jinxed him. So, and they play Ohio State first game of the year, so he's probably gonna have a drop. Everybody's gonna call him a bust, and then he won't have another drop the rest of the year
for sure. And then at defensive tackle, Brevard out of Purdue. How could a good player come from Purdue? They suck.
Yeah, that was the theory, right? I'm most people. I know Charlie would probably have Watson ahead of Brevard. I think Brevard's going to be maybe the most rock solid D tackle this year, and that creates a huge impact to me. I think he's going to do a lot of the dirty work, but I think there's just a little bit more ability there than showed up at Purdue. He's going to be surrounded by better talent. I think we'll see a little bit more playmaking. Might be on the other side of the line of scrimmage a little bit more often than he was at Purdue. And I like him. He uses his strength, leverage, and arms really well. I'm expecting a pretty damn big year out of him. Now, Watson is going to make more wow plays. You'll see him on the other side of the line of scrimmage a little bit more often. You could flip-flop him without a doubt. This is my way of saying I expect Brevard to be a better player than I think people anticipate.
Yeah, and if you go watch the tape, Brevard versus Ohio State, he pretty much dominated their offensive line all game, getting in the backfield, splitting double teams. So if the light bulb's on, he's playing to that standard. I think he has a really, really great year.
Yeah, he gets brought up a lot in Yeah, he gets brought up a lot when I ask sources about him. Like I was asking specifically about the new transfer guys, and the guy just started talking about him. He's like, I know he's not new, but and he was here in the spring, but he's working hard, and I like. And again, these guys, Brevard is probably like a later round NFL guy. Shoot, you have a big season and you're moving up. Just like Alfred and Vernon did.
I was
So
gonna say we've seen that.
yeah, we've seen that a lot of times. He's in the right place. I think he's going to have a good year, and I think he's going to start. I think these two guys are probably going to start next to each other.
And then, and Brevard too, coming from Purdue to Texas, shows an ambitious player, right? He's trying to move up on the board, and we've had some good luck with transfers doing that. And then Watson, younger player, but like Eric says, some wild plays. And then the future at the position is also bright for Watson because he has some real eligibility. So it's been good to hear that he's popping. Needs to get a little bit more consistent, right? Or the code words are complete player. So what does that mean? He's struggling against the run, or what is that?
No, just consistency. He's got all the ability. It's just it's time under tension. Development matters. He's just not as quite a mature player as Brevard yet, but he's getting there. It's same sort of stuff that Alex January is going for. It's the little things, hand placement and all that.
That was literally all of our DTs until their final year. That was Sweat. That was all. Byron Murphy was like the one that was just like a bulldog from day one.
Yeah, Watson's going to be good. He's definitely starter capability. So he's just not kind of as fully formed as Brevard.
Man, the Texas front seven. I saw a graphic that was showing Georgia, us, and maybe Ohio State. It was trying to show top players per position. And Texas was neck and neck with everybody. The only difference was Georgia compared to Texas and Ohio State is Georgia has a lot of elite linebacker talent. And their front seven's terrifying to face. So but this is what I'm trying to say. The front seven of Texas this year, it's going to be hard to find a better team. And so you're having here where you have Leona, we're talking about moving more. Of course, you have Anthony Hill, and then now Brad Spence, who we keep hearing great things about. So we're kind of like having to figure out how to balance all of this, but we're hearing more good stuff about Brad Spence. And you say here too, possibly start, right? So what does that mean? I
don't think he's going to beat out Leonga, but the spring he had, it wouldn't surprise me. I think they like him as a blitzer. So I think you're going to see him more out there on third down more, and you'll see Leonga on standard downs or if it's an obvious passing down. That's the quandary, right? Do you want the coverage from Leonga in a passing situation, or do you want the ability to blitz that Spence has? It's going to be interesting to see how that play out. I think they're going to play a very similar amount of snaps overall for the year. I'm not too interested in who starts. He's just going to play. He's going to play a ton. Sark mentioned him the other day on that Third and Longhorn podcast. He mentioned Spence's versatility, and Spence could credibly play buck if Texas needed him at buck. If Colin Simmons didn't exist and they didn't have Trey Moore, Brad Spence could credibly play buck. So that's the type of versatility he has.
I can't wait. And the starting argument with our front seven is silly because it's going to be super situational.
Yep.
And PK already likes to rotate. So that's going to be a huge aspect. Okay, another defensive tackle we have up here is Travis Shaw. Struggling with a little bit of knee stuff, right? But Paula said this a bunch, we don't need 80 snaps out of these guys. If they can come and give us 20 to 30 great snaps, full effort, that recipe has been incredible for us the past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you play Ohio State, you're going to get the absolute best out of Travis Shaw if you're asking him to give you 25, 30 snaps. It's a whole lot. It's a whole different ball game than him. Save energy for the fourth quarter if he knows he has to play 60 snaps. And this I think it helped Tavondre win the Outland. Is that he was always fresh. He was always playing with his hair on fire. You wonder how can that be at 360 pounds? It's because they kept a good eye on on where he was stamina wise. So it's the same thing. They've unlocked a recipe there that you don't need great players. You need a bunch of good players.
Yeah.
At D-tackle. I mean, it's nice when they're great. Don't get me wrong. It's nice when they're great, and it's and you only need 4 of them. That's fine. But absent, 2, first and second round pick like Murphy and Sweat, bring in 6 full-grown men.
Mm-hmm.
Interior offensive linemen don't get breaks, so and they like breaks if they can get it. They look for the second and third strings, but keep sending waves of fresh giant guys. It's not fun for the interior.
No, and they posted a video. The defense line, they were out there working. He looked like he slimmed down a little bit. They was out there hitting the sled and working, get hand placement and getting off the block. So he looked like he slimmed down a little bit. I'm not saying he's lost 20, 30 pounds or something, but he looked a little more fit in the Texas heat.
Yeah. Yeah, and we heard good things about his effort level out on the field. Being big and playing hard goes a long ways, and then you add in some real talent. Yeah, Shaw could end up number 1 on this list. Honestly, that's how talented he is. I'm just kind of playing the middleman here and covering all my bases. He has the talent to be the number 1 impact guy on out of the portal.
Cool. Hey, Manuel, joined late. So I don't know if it was addressed. Sky is falling, being dramatic, had a bad week, blah, blah, blah. Where does Texas go for running back and other key positions? Whenever this live is done, dude, just go back and watch the record because we open up with that. So you'll have all your information there if you rewatch post whenever it's over. Okay. Then we have Mosley. Before we go into some – okay, I was going to say, man, Mosley can't be at the bottom of this list, Eric. I can't allow these type of things. But Mosley is coming back from tweaking something or whatever. So now he's back in the mix, another steady hand on offense. And he kind of plays to me like a junior or a senior, like with that consistency, but he's young. So kind of what's going on with Mosley?
Yeah, well, he's got a Stanford brain, so you got to keep that in mind. He's going to have some maturity to him. He's back on the field last week, 7-on-7, first time I think getting back in the action, or maybe he might have started workouts the week before because I heard he was doing really good in some of the workouts already. Out on the field, yeah, he's not the fastest guy that they have by any stretch, but he's a smart, savvy route runner, exactly what you would expect. Probably what you expect Parker Livingstone to be is what Emmett Mosley is, and then Livingstone is the guy that can run. But they brought him in for a number of reasons, not just the number 1 job is to catch balls, but they like him as a perimeter blocker too.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is they still have him at outside receiver rather than inside. DeAndre Moore is still inside at the slot. That tells you the slot fades are going to be a big part of the offense.
Yep.
But Mosley's going to be a guy that does a lot of the dirty work. So it's kind of like Jordan Whittington, where he might have only 40 catches. I don't think he's going to have the statistical profile he had at Stanford his freshman year. But going to be a lot of move the stick catches, maybe a couple contested touchdowns, that sort of thing. We know that Arch trusts his arm, and he's going to try to fit the ball in. Mosley has the ability to go win that ball in the air. But I think a lot of us are going to – the people that really rewatch and understand how big plays happen, that they watch all 11 to see if they did their job. I think Mosley's going to be a guy that helps spring a lot of big runs.
Yeah. I really like Mosley, and I do think it's interesting. I thought he'd be better as a slot. But I'm gonna default to Sark there. He probably understands his scheme a little better than I do.
The definition of how you play without the football matters is Mosley, man. He's gonna be on the highlight reel. They're gonna make a clip of him. This is how you block every time. Everybody's gonna follow this example type of guy.
Wow.
Yeah, I wrote a recruiting piece recently, and I said, Chris Jackson's in a tough spot because he only wants tough-minded, team first guys that'll do the dirty work and block, but he coaches wide receiver. So it already limits who he can go after, but Emmett Mosley fits that profile perfectly, as does the rest of that room. Now Chris Jackson finally has a room filled with guys that are in his image.
Yeah. And like we said, these are going to be very wide receivers.
Yeah.
That are going to block and not just speed guys, which is more my style. So I'm appreciated to see that. Before we keep going, guys, before we get into kickers, which we act like don't matter, and they clearly do, because last season that was probably the difference for us. So it is important to cover this. We got more under that. Before we keep going, guys, let's hear from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. 8808. The contact information is in the description.
All right, so we pull Shipley from Texas State after having a really tough year with Auburn last year. We just need consistency. We need to know that the ball's going to go in and avoid the highs and lows. And kicker, man, you need this zen. Like the best way to describe it, Cameron Dicker just seemed like nothing bothered him. Right? Yeah. He was just smiling at trainers on the sideline. You wouldn't even know he's at a football game. That's what you're looking for in kickers, man. Because they're also, that's a lonely position. They're off to their own side at practice. 90% of your work is you're at some elementary or middle school field and you're just kicking. You need to be very much like a karate master, working in silence. So this is really important, and I'm glad we were able to land Shipley.
You have to have that mentality of a closer. Kind of sitting in the bullpen by yourself, and then when you're called in, you just come in and throw strikes. Auburn didn't throw enough strikes last year after throwing plenty his first couple of years. I hate the way his career at Texas ended because he was much better than what he showed last year. It would be so much fun to gloat about Texas being SEC champions, and now that's really what it came down to. But it's impossible for me to vouch for a kicker, and I've said that forever. And Auburn is exactly why. He had 2 good years at Texas, sometimes some really big moments, some really pressure kicks. And then last year he lost his way. So Mason Shipley's going to be looking at much different crowds this year than he was looking at last year. They're going to be the stakes are much higher than they were at Texas State. So we'll see how he does. I'm encouraged by his leg. But yeah, I can't vouch for a kicker.
Hey man, shout out Texas State moving up in the world. I'm going to be down at San Marcos for a week starting on Saturday with family. But
Pac-12, right?
Texas State to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
What's interesting, just from the recruiting landscape wise, and the Pac-12 is not a power conference. They're G5 with a cool name, but it's like all the Texas schools are in the mix, like as far as saying they can do power. So it's like we used to not have to worry about Baylor or the little guys. They've all risen, and now Houston's up. Now Texas State is up. So it is interesting. There's really no super crazy non-power tier anymore. So shout out to the little guys at Texas State.
Right. My best friend in the world went to Texas State, and he can be, I think he even qualifies as a booster, despite not giving all that much money. he goes to road games. He loves it. More power to him. San Marcos is a great place to live. I lived there for a year when that went to college. It's a great place, man. I hope they do well. I would be perfectly fine with my kid going to Texas State and I go find some place to live in the hill country an hour away.
Oh, for sure, man. San Marcos is great. I'll be there for a week. I'll be hanging out. And they got all the Austin restaurants now. So I can go to Gus's fried chicken, which I'm excited for. All the stuff I'd have to drive to Austin for now, San Marcos has.
Why? Watch out for the fender benders. Once they break out those sundresses, you start seeing fender benders. We would see them all the time, man.
Yeah.
Another fender bender.
But yeah, all the Texas schools now technically in those power conferences pretty much. So that's interesting. Just for recruiting, it's not going to make a huge difference for us, right? But if they can rise up and steal some depth player we wanted, we saw TCU and Baylor do that to us during our little dark decade. All right. Hero Kanu out of Ohio State. This was kind of the read that I think Ian got from his friend at Ohio State, that Kanu would end up being a rotational player. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. But I do like possible defensive end and base. So situational utility.
Right. Yeah. I might be selling him short here. I don't know yet. I just haven't heard enough about him as far as playmaking and stuff. I'm not sure that he's got the natural upside or the fit. His play style is kind of like a plugger, but he's built more like a like you would expect, more athleticism and and using his length more maybe more pass rush out of him. Haven't really heard that about him, but he's a physically mature guy. He was going to rotate at Ohio State. If you can rotate at Ohio State, very good chance you can rotate at Texas. And I think he's going to probably be they'll probably go to 6 D tackles this year. And I think he's going to be that third role. It's kind of like what Vernon and Alfred had in 2022. Yeah, that's kind of his role I foresee this season. But he's got multiple years of eligibility. And he's probably going to be, he'll probably be on the second team next year and play a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then we got punter, and you can tell that there's no hyperlink to his name. because
I just forget that. He must have. He's got to have one. I don't. I
Yeah.
might just like I said. I was getting that thing up, trying to put a suture on the wounds, the recruiting wounds, trying to get them. I don't think it worked either. I probably had like 5 comments on this one.
Let them marinate in their pain, Eric. Consistently good enough to let the coverage team do its job. Great. That's what a punter needs to do. Consistently good job pinning offenses. Good. That's what a punter needs to do. Maybe it should be ranked higher, but freak. It's punting.
Yeah, it's punting.
Yeah, so they brought him in for the they wanted the skill side of it. You know, they didn't feel like they did a good job pinning guys, kicking out of bounds. You know, get them inside the 10. You know, they wanted him for his skill. It's not that, you know, they didn't bring him in to go kick it 50 yards and you know, with 10 seconds of hang time. That'd be great. But the skill is what they were really lacking last year. So that's going to be upgraded. Like I've said, I'm very bullish on special teams for this season. I know I think there's just so many ways this team is going to be better. One is there's going to be a lot of extra yards. Wide receiver blocking being improved is going to be extra yards. Special teams is going to win the hidden yardage game. I just think they're going to be better in these little small margins, and it's going to overall make them become a much more complete team than what we saw last year.
Having fresh backs to choose from. But like the punting game, man, like
it's huge.
It's huge, man. And the kicking game. I remember a couple years ago, not last year, we were really good at kickoffs. We would kick it into like the 5 and we'd pin them at the 10 and we'd steal 10, 15 yards on their drive, man. And that matters. And the same with punting. You know, go look at Dixon. He was like our MVP, man. It matters, man. And especially if you're a defensive team, man, you see this constantly with like defensive coaches, their special teams are on point. They understand that those hidden yards make all the difference in your percentages of driving down the field.
Yeah, I think we let every meeting every day was about special teams at UNLV with Odom. He talked about special teams for like 20 minutes. Like, yeah, but can you imagine people have to consistently have to drive down the field versus this defense next year?
Yeah. And dude, and being backed up at your 10 is a different psychological thing, you know, than getting your touchback. Like it changes your feel. It changes play calling. Teams get wigged out when they're backed up there. They do weird stuff.
Yeah.
It matters. All right. Levon Johnson out of Maryland, third wave DT as well. And then, but bringing some leadership, that stuff matters too.
Yeah, you know, his play style is conducive to being the leader. Like he does the dirty work, the hard stuff.
Great.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be the third wave nose tackle. That's my that's how I'm seeing it right now. But he is bringing some leadership intangibles to the room. Maturity. It's you know they lost the guys that had a lot of skins on the walls last year, and it wasn't just Alfred and Vernon. You know they lost Lole, who I think started college before Connor did, and Bill Norton, who played a lot. So that a lot of veteran leadership in that room is being has to be replaced, and Levon is doing his part to do that in a very short period of time.
Great, yeah. If you're having third wave, man, but you can bring some intangibles, that's a way to add a lot of value. And then Caldwell, new quarterback. Eric says hopefully we don't see him, but hey, man, hopefully you got some sick handoffs late in the games, and then hey, when you're going in the fourth quarter versus a G5, hey, maybe you can sling it around a little bit.
Hey, speaking of recruiting misses, look at this last name, just rubbing it in. Oh man,
go Dogs, huh? Go Dogs.
Oh my Lord, that is some salt in the wound right there.
Tell him, hey man, you still have a couple months. You can decide, man. It doesn't have to be finalized, all right?
Oh, man.
And our North Shore luck continues, right, fellas? Okay, let's talk. Joe and Eric do their Inside the Program. Awesome. It's like all team news. It's all meat on Fridays. But I get a chance with Eric on Mondays to ask him my questions from that article. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And this was also a hefty one to try to soothe the recruiting heads. But
that is on the way, so we went extra hard on this one.
I was going to say, yeah, read between the tea leaves. If you start getting stuff good, you're probably getting a miss coming in like 2 days. But let's do it. All right. So we talked already a lot about defensive tackle. I don't want to rehash that. I do want to talk about what it means for Alex January, right? So is that just young guy stuff trying to come up the ranks still?
Well, Alex has a chance to start this year. I think it's going to be him and Murat are going to have a really good competition about who's going to play next to Brevard. Both of them complement Brevard well. January, athletic guy. and becoming more athletic by the day as he continues to take advantage of strength and conditioning, lean up a little bit, lose some baby fat. I give the nod to Murad just on physicality. I think Murad's physicality is just a little bit more advanced than Alex. Alex is still coming around. More leg days for Alex are going to be over time. He's going to be an absolute stud, I think. Charlie talked to Collins after when he was preparing for the draft, and he was talking highly of January. So all the information we have on January puts him in a favorable light. I think he's going to play a ton this year, but I'm not sure he'll start. But like we were talking about, it doesn't really matter. He's going to play a lot. That's a guy that's going to get 30 snaps a game.
Look, we saw him on the smalls a couple snaps last year. He got a game against Ohio State, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? On the goal line. And he also made the most important play, made the running back throw a punch at him, right? So, hey, he gets it.
And I love it, man, because running backs don't just punch you in the face for nothing. So he said something, got punched in the face, and then he acted like, "What? How could this have occurred?" And then so the mental game there, I always like that, man. It's the flop in soccer. It's the game within the game. So I always appreciate that when a player can draw it. And then Sharma was mentioned too, man.
Oh yeah,
working hard. The one time I saw him at Folsom, I love going to weight workouts. You get to see. I just try to be a fly on the wall and watch how like the baseline, the average guy is working, and then you compare to the team. You want to see like average gym. But stars going as hard as anybody else. It pretends really good things. And Josiah was getting after it the day I was there. I talked to the coaches, and they said, "Yeah, this is how he works." And then he is a very, very large guy, but there is a ton of muscle on him. It's not like it's not all bad weight. There's like 3 layers of muscle on him. He's going to be a good player in time. Now we're talking about a pre-stocked roster. Eventually, I think he's going to be that number 1 nose tackle in the program. He's just got a lot of experienced bodies ahead of him right now.
Sure. We talked Mosley, so important news. That looks like he's still on the outside now, coming back from injury. Stable catcher of the ball. He can do contested stuff, good safety blanket stuff, but also he'll run block. So that's the important stuff about Mosley. And like I said, fans will fall in love with that play style throughout the season. He's going to matter. Okay. 2 notes. DeAndre Moore emerging as a team leader, not just a leader in his room. He did an interview the other day too. I can't remember. I think I saw it on TikTok or something. But man, he's a confident kid on the mic, just like well-spoken. Yeah. He carries himself like that as well. So it's good to hear. And then we keep hearing all the subtle rumblings of like this guy could go in the first round athleticism-wise. Like how they like hint early on in the year, like, I don't know, man, he's pretty fat, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's going to run faster than people realize. He'll, like Adonai ran faster, like Golden ran faster than people expected. Well, we've been chronicling his speed since he got on campus. That was the first thing where I really caught my attention. Well, you can see it on his huddle too, but yeah, he's one of the probably 5 fastest guys on the team. He's going to run a really good time.
But he wasn't billed as that. He wasn't billed as like this speed receiver too, which is weird. Like people don't notice it.
No, I had to, I found some clips of him in high school that really made me kind of go, okay, now I see what Sark is talking about here. He definitely has the speed that they're looking for. With him, all the questions are going to boil down to reliability. Convert the play. He's having a really, really, really good summer workout period, which normally that's going to portend a very big season. I think it's his last year. I've got some sources that are kind of on the fence about it. My intuition points to this being his last year at Texas.
Cool. And then don't sleep on Livingstone.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, Coach, if you need to get in here just to say hell yeah.
Livingstone is the perfect backup for Mosley. And Livingstone will block too. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely wants to block.
But he got long speed. Livingstone has long speed.
Right. Yeah. And they're gonna substitute that guy in for Mosley, and they're gonna run him on verts, and the corner is gonna be absolutely shocked at what's going on.
Yeah, they're gonna be confused because they're gonna be like, "Oh, look, another run blocker, white guy," and then he's gonna go.
Yeah. They're gonna think Mosley's the guy with the fastball, but Mosley's throwing the junk at him, and then here comes Randy Johnson down the pipe.
Yep. And then Aaron Butler also looking good as far as speed goes.
Yeah, outside guys. They've got, there's just a lot of talent in that room. Jackson's got to develop them. Hopefully they have health with Wingo and Moore. Um, we're going to see some exciting moments from the young guys that people are going to feel better about wide receiver going forward. But this year's going to be really, I think it's going to boil down to Wingo, Moore, Mosley, Livingstone, and then maybe McCutcheon. We're hearing a lot about Dalen McCutcheon too.
Cool. In the slot. And then tight end has been super weird this year, right? Because we're a year out from having an incredibly stacked tight end room. But we're in this kind of weird transitionary phase right now where we have guys that we really like, but they haven't shown it yet on the field. So we have injuries, of course, which we're excited about. You have Nick Townsend, who's Eric's favorite, going to bat for him. Crazy athlete. Need to see it translate on the field. Watch his huddle. He can do everything. And then Winston comes in, man. It's kind of like the unheralded tight end again because we don't learn our lesson as Texas fans. And then he comes in and he's just doing the right things. And that's what I want to hear about a tight end.
Yeah.
Is that.
We were talking about Jason Witten earlier, not being the greatest athlete of all time, but always getting open. Yeah. Amari knows how to get open, savvy guy. Arch really likes to find him. I'm bullish on tight end for this season, actually, because of injuries, and I do think Jordan Washington is ready for prime time. I need to catch back up on Washington. We've been, investigating all the new guys. I feel like I already know Washington to a large degree, but I do need to check in. He did miss spring ball or most of spring, but I think I'm actually bullish on tight end for this season. But then next year, I think it's going to be, ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. That room's going to be really important to watch. And then Jordan Washington, I remember when I got sent the clips from practice when we were getting viewing, and they were working his blocking. Yeah, and you can tell by how hard a player is getting coached is how much they want you on the field. And to players, it can feel like you're getting picked on. It can feel the opposite. But, hey, man, if they're on you, man, there's a reason they're on you.
They make a lot out of you, yeah. Or trying to get you ready for that point anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you sign up to play for Jeff Benz, you better be ready for it.
For sure. Yeah. Running back leadership, a team strength. So like running back is not like traditionally your like leader position, but throw all that out of the window at Texas because it just seems like we turn out team leaders at running back all the time.
It always stuck with me. I was talking to a college source of mine. He's a head coach now. We don't talk as much as we once did, but we were talking about one of his running backs, and he goes, "Yeah, here's the crazy thing. He's a good leader." It's like you just don't find leadership out of that room a whole lot. Part of it is that they're what they have to know on offense is kind of limited. It's like, they're not going to sit there and go coach up the wide receiver and all that. It's really conducive to guys that have to understand the overall scheme. And then sometimes, they kind of have a wide receiver attitude too sometimes. But Texas identifies these guys, and it kind of extends what you're talking about, DeAndre Moore. It all fits within the type of guys that they're recruiting. Now, Trey is a kid that if you see him, he seems like he's a little rough around the edges, but he's a ball of energy. He's got a different leadership style than Rashawn Johnson, but they overlap on toughness and the respect that they have from their teammates. Whereas Rashawn was a little bit more of a stoic. Trey is just nonstop, 100 miles an hour every single day. And then you see that toughness. He really earned the respect of his team over that stretch last year in the same way that Rashawn won over that team during that tough stretch his Sark's first season. And then on the other side, you've got, C.J. Baxter's kind of got that Bijan Robinson role where everybody loves the dude. Everybody wants to see him succeed. Even more so now coming back from injury. It's weird to see this kind of come back in form after seeing it with Rashawn and Bijan. It's a little bit different, but it's a little bit similar too.
Well, it's also weird with Baxter because he's had leadership through the injury, but that injury was as a sophomore. So he's just like, he's been a leader since kind of day one, which is also not, and he's just a really pleasant, likable kid as well. And if you see those pictures of him, there's one of him standing next to Weisner. I mean, Baxter's huge.
He's jacked, man.
And so he spent his rehab working out. I mean, he's a big back, man. And when he first came in, he was a little bit slimmer. He looked like a traditional boundary receiver a little bit, like a 6'2" guy, And now he's looking like a running back. Like his quads are just crazy from the rehab leg extensions. And so it's like you can see he did the workout. So, and he's a fan favorite. So hopefully, man, I would love nothing more to see Baxter go out and shine.
that whole room is real easy to root for. Christian Clark too, man, coming back from Achilles like he did, and what his family's been through. Yeah, there's just a lot of really good stories in that room, and they all, it doesn't matter what position you play at Texas, they all have sort of the same personality and the same human qualities. Their culture fits. Sark's done that's one of the best things he's done is evaluating the culture fits.
Yeah. Offensive line leadership. This should be a breath of relief because, everybody's a little nervous about the room just because of uncertainty after getting so many people drafted. And so we're seeing DJ Campbell step up as his leadership style. And he's an intense guy. So him, a loud, intense guy is always fun.
On the field, off the field, he's a lot different. He's a lot more quiet. He came in, he was really sort of insulated. He hung out with the D tackles when he first got to Texas, but over time he's just lost it. His maturity's just gone. It's changed by leaps and bounds. What we've seen it so many times, time and time again under Sark. I kind of, his leadership has kind of progressed, kind of like T'Vondre Sweats has, but even more so than that. The room really demanded that he rise to the occasion, and he's done it. And like we always say, when they start looking different in their body, when you saw him slimming up, it's like the entire light switch is coming on. It's not just he just said, "Oh, I'm going to work harder." It's like he's doing everything else the right way too.
Yeah.
And same with Gooseby, right? To be able to step in for Kelvin Banks and it didn't feel like a crazy risk was impressive.
Well, Gooseby was a guy that we knew was coming to this point. We knew that he was going to be a leader. We knew that he was going to be a early round draft pick. Once we saw the athletic skill married to the work ethic we were hearing about, we knew it was coming to this point. And so this is his time to embrace it. I said, is there any chance this guy comes back for a second year? And the source just kind of laughed and said, he's not working like it. Something changes when they hit that contract year, and it's human nature. Their leadership is in a pretty good spot despite, losing 4 guys to the NFL.
Especially when you have so many guys go to the NFL in front of you, it's so tangible now. You just saw all your friends. You saw 12 of your friends, So it's just so much more concrete at Texas now that half the damn offense and defense goes to the league, so you can do it too. So get to work.
Exactly.
And then Robertson gained mention as well, standing out during workouts.
He's I think he's going to be a 1-year starter at Texas in that 2026 season. He might get the call for what we hope is Arch's second season at Texas. He's we've been hearing good things about him going back to really last fall. I think that he started picking it up a little bit, hitting a different gear. It could be that Cole Hudson is the backup guard because they might feel more comfortable putting in Connor Robertson at center and moving Cole over to guard if they have to, than bringing in a guard off the bench. So it'll be interesting to see if it comes to that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And then defensive back. This has been the fun thing that me and Ian have got a lot of Wednesday shows out of trying to figure out the coverage compared to last year. Yeah. So it's looking like Jelani McDonald will stick at star. So that should mean Gilbo and Black over on their corner side and then Manny Muhammad opposite.
I don't think they're going to change up much of the coverages. We're hearing about the same. They're running the same stuff in 7-on-7 that they ran last year. Kobe Black, Jalen Gilbo, huge battle there. That's going to be something to pay attention to in August. We're going to cover that one closely. And then, I think Jelani is going to start at star. Now, like we said, they've got a really manageable schedule in September. So we're probably going to see some young guys there, Wardell Mack, Grayson Littleton, throughout that stretch. But, going into the shoe, Jelani's going to get that start almost assuredly.
Well, you got to get your best 5 on the field.
Exactly.
And Jelani part of that.
I love the fact you mentioned Jordan Johnson-Rubel, man. I love that kid. I think he has all the intangibles to be really, really good, man. I think he's going to show up on Saturdays. Everybody's going to see that he actually can play. He can do it all.
Safety's a big intangible position too, man. Like always doing the right thing. You're the fail-safe, man. You can't be wrong or else it's touchdown. So these are also like tight end. I want to hear this about safeties.
Yeah, right place, right time. Does a lot of the work for him.
Yeah. And then Phil Sami, man. A player that was raw, had the raw athleticism. Now we got to, train him up to play within a scheme and not just, be an athlete. But here he's communicating better. There's got to be a huge correlation. Turn off the sound. The more you see DBs moving their arms and talking to each other, it's a better defense. I don't care what defense it is. I can tell if it's a good secondary by how much they're yelling at each other.
Should be the
Yeah,
loudest group on the field.
Those are the magic words I look for on a young DB. You know, communicating well. It shows that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And when you know what you're doing, then you can actually use that speed to put that speed to good use. He's got tremendous speed back there. Didn't always know where to be. Rounding into form. Looks like as long as McDonald is that star, feels to me looks like the number 4 safety.
Great. And then Roberson, if he can, you know, we use the athleticism's there. Special teams, you know, got to play within yourself. But Roberson's been somebody that people have been excited for since he stepped foot on campus.
Yeah, he's been making noise since he got to Texas, just because that twitch, the physicality, his he's a dog out there. You know, he's physical. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of tools here. Now, here's the thing: we just don't want him to become Keaton Crawford. You know, like where it never materialized on the field. Keaton had all these individual traits, but couldn't put it all together.
Yeah,
I don't think Warren's going to fall to that trap. We're hearing good things about him. I expect him to back up Muhammad. Yeah, but I got a little scared when the source said, "Yeah, he's instinctive." I go, "Oh yeah, I don't know about that. That could get him out of plays too." I just want to hear him doing the little things right, because he's got all the other stuff to take it from there.
Perfect. And then we talk Kobe and Santana Wilson. Santana Wilson is another player that I just keep wanting to hear about. And so
just a stacked depth chart right now, right? So he would probably be the third corner on that side. Next year it's going to get a lot more interesting when Muhammad's not there. You know, you're going to hear a lot more about Santana Wilson then in 2026. This year, hopefully, we're seeing him making some plays on special teams and then getting in there in second halves. Santana's showing some good stuff. You know, he had a couple picks during spring ball. He's got that twitch. You know, you can see his high school tape was a lot of fun to watch. He's got a future at Texas. There's no doubt about it.
All right, before we wrap up, we had one final question. Could Yaheem Riley be an Adrian Phillips or PJ Locke type?
Well, are you talking? Both those guys played nickel at times. Locke was in a tough spot. That scheme asked way too much out of Nichols, so Locke didn't have the college career that he probably should have had in a different scheme. Hopefully, Vance doesn't come on here and kick my butt there. But Yaheem could definitely play star. I liken him more to an Andrew Makuba guy. I want him playing center field, but then also coming down and in the alley. Basically, I liken him to Makuba. I think kind of a similar body type, but really a similar skill set.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. Put him out there center field, man. Let him go hash to hash, make plays, but he'll come down and hit you too. So it depends on the matchup, though. He can come down and play the sliding cover man to man. So just really what they ask of him, but I like him in center field too.
Yeah, he does have the ability to play nickel. He different body type than Phillips and Locke. Yeah. Locke was shorter, stockier. He's in a lot of ways he's like Makuba. Now Makuba really surprised me this year with how physical his game was.
Yeah. Makuba was awesome,
man. The eraser.
Yeah, dude. What a pleasant surprise. All right. That was fun, chat. Got a little team news and recruiting. We tell you guys to take a deep breath, but we know you won't. And honestly, your engagement, that's what we love about you guys. You guys aren't always just – you care, and that matters too. It'd be worse for us if you guys didn't. All right. Yep. Coach, thank you. Eric, enjoy your hike, hanging out with the Woodland Fairies, whatever you do up there, dude.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy it. All right, chat. Thank you guys as well. And this was IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have a great Monday, y'all. Peace.